Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Hi everybody, it's Mel Z Adams and welcome back once again to my channel. Today I have for you my semester wrap up. So I kind of just thought I would sit and kind of talk you through my last semester and what kind of classes I studied. I do think it would be beneficial at some point to do like a full Bachelors of Music video and talk about what you do in that. But I think this time I'll kind of leave it and just kind of talk about what my final semester was like and what kind of stuff I did and what stuff I've been reading and all that kind of thing. So a lot of people think whenever you say that you're studying a Bachelor's of Music, they think that you're either performing or they think that you're studying a lot of theory of music. And while that is an element, this semester for me had absolutely none of that, and actually last semester as well, I don't think I did any music theory. I didn't do composition this year at all, and I actually did no performance classes either because it was classical performance or basically electric performance, and I do not kind of fit into either of those at the moment. I am a classically trained singer, but I lend myself more towards experimental music and jazz and popular vocals now, so going that route was not really an option for me, so I kind of left performance this year. So this semester I had 4 classes with the way mine were weighted because one of them was full year class. So it was a pretty intense semester. Last semester was a little bit easier because it ended up just being the 3, so it was 2 autumn semester ones and a full year. This semester it was 3 spring semester classes and then the continuation of the full year. But of course with the full year one, all the assignments and stuff were due this semester, so it ended up being crazy. So the first one I took, it was a work placement module, and I did my work placement with the Belfast Music Society. Absolutely amazing, absolutely loved it, and the team are fantastic, and I think I'll hopefully continue to do some little bits and pieces for them in the coming years, but definitely check them out. I'll leave the Belfast Music Society link below. They have the Northern Lights Mini Fest, which I got to be a part of, where they have basically it's more local musicians and things like that. And then they have the International Festival of Chamber Music, which I also got to be a part of and got to do a lot of behind the scenes stuff and being a part of a board, and it was so fantastic. Absolutely loved it. The module itself, we basically got marked on our final reflective essay, which was a challenge for me because never before have I written, I don't think I've ever written a reflective essay, so it was kind of weird getting to grips with that. And then we did a presentation on our placement, and that was kind of the work placement module. I can't really talk too much else about it. So the 3 other ones I took, which were all amazing this year, I was so chuffed with the modules that I picked and the choices that I made. So the classes that I took were music and culture, were Bach's keyboard works, which was great because it was a kind of a continuation on from last year when I studied Bach's choral works because I love Bach. And I took Mozart operas as well. So in Mozart's operas, we studied 3 operas, and they were The Magic Flute, Don Giovanni and Così fan tutti. So I actually focused a lot on Don Giovanni during this class. Obviously we learned about all of them in the lectures, but behind the scenes whenever you're doing your work at home, I kind of knew that you can kind of pick one and go with it, and I learned a bit about all of them. I think in the end for my exam I focused on Don Giovanni and Così fan tutti. Don Giovanni I think is up there with one of my favourite operas, definitely one of my favourite Mozart's operas. The way it's put together and the way it ends and all that stuff, I'm not going to spoil it or anything, but it's definitely worth watching or going to see being performed if you haven't seen it. So yeah, I focused a lot on Don Giovanni, which is why whenever you see this book that I got, which is Don Giovanni by Julian Rushton, you can see that I got a lot of use out of this for my project. So one of the arguments that I kind of put forward for my main essay and seminar was how not only is Don Giovanni a seductive character that we see that's very obvious, but this seductive technique is within the music. He basically uses imitation to seduce women, to show men that he's more powerful than them. So yeah, this book is great if you want to get into Don Giovanni and learn a little bit more about the opera. It has a really nice historical overview, so it will talk about the history of the opera, and obviously the character of Don Giovanni was based on somebody else, so it kind of talks a little bit about that, and then you get into a synopsis, like quite an in-depth synopsis, and he'll talk a lot about the music and the characters and things like that as well. So yeah, it's definitely worth a read. So I actually had bought that book. Some of these books are going to be from the library, which you'll see in a second, but I bought the Don Giovanni book, and I bought this, which is Mozart's Operas, a companion. Now this I would really recommend if you're a beginner and you're only beginning to look into Mozart's operas, because at the beginning there's a really good section where it talks about arias and different types of arias and recitatives and what these are, and it gives you a good overview of that before you begin looking through the operas. So pretty much all of Mozart's operas are in here, so it's not quite as in-depth as the Don Giovanni book because obviously that's focused on that, but there is some really good information in here, and it's a really good little book. Now these books that I'm talking about are only a few of the books books that I read over the semester, a few of the highlights. I've kind of left out other ones, as well as leaving out a lot of journals and articles and things like that. So this is not the only reading that I did this semester. Do not think that. There is a whole host of books that I have not included in this video because we don't want to be here for 4 hours. So I picked the highlight books that I think that if you're studying classes similar to these, that you would find really, really helpful and very interesting. So I've selected those out of the many books that I read this month. So one of the next classes I took was probably one of my top favourite classes. It's hard to choose between this from my whole university experience. It was either music and politics last semester or music and culture that I took this semester, because those are topics that I could just talk about to anybody. Absolutely love it. With music and culture, with obviously regards to music, we talked about globalization, we talked about music and gender and all that kind of thing, and race, and it was just absolutely an amazing class. One of the areas that I'm particularly interested in is punk music. I'm really fascinated by punk and politics and what that had to do with its creation and its movement and how things changed, and Rock Against Racism and the Red Wedge and the Labour Party. So this is finally when I got the opportunity to talk about that. I actually talked about it a lot last semester, music and politics. All my essays I think I'm going to put up at some stage onto my little blog, which is linked somewhere below. I think I've only got one up at the minute and then like a little teeny piece of writing, but yeah, the punk ones I'll definitely put up because this is something that I just enjoy talking about in general. But yeah, we got an opportunity to talk about that, how punk is used as a means of resistance. If you're interested in that kind of thing, one of the books that I would definitely recommend, which has a really good overview of how just pop music is used politically anyway, is When the Music's Over by Robin Denslow. There's some really good stuff about Rock Against Racism and Red Wedge in here. It's just a really good resource, or just good book to read if you're into political pop like I am. I'm kind of obsessed with it. It's just a really fascinating topic. I could talk about this for hours, so I'm going to move on swiftly, but just music and politics is just an amazing subject. I just love learning about what music has been used for politically and whether it has been intended to be used with those means, or you get this thing which is called musical or lyrical drift, where somebody will take a song totally out of context and change it to fit their situation. And yeah, all that kind of stuff really intrigues me. And that was a really good class, and that is a really good book. So the final class I took is another one that I'm pretty passionate about, and it is Keyboard Music of J.S. Bach. So in this class we had a pretty in-depth look at the clavier bookline for Wilhelm Friedman Bach, which was Bach's son. We looked at the Inventions and Sinfonias, which were actually included in that clavier bookline, and we looked at the Well-Tempered Clavier, book 1 and 2. I really enjoyed studying the Inventions and Sinfonias in this class and the clavier bookline. So for this class we did 2 essays, a seminar and a big exam, which is worth 50%. Obviously with the exam I focused on everything and did real in-depth study into all these works, but for the first essay I did an essay on Bach's temperament in the Well-Tempered Clavier, because there's a lot of scholarly debate surrounding what tuning his instrument was at. And then the other essay and seminar kind of free choice to pick what we wanted to do, and for my little group what we focused on was Bach's teaching methods, Bach's pedagogy. Obviously these works very much lean themselves towards that because they're intended for teaching purposes. So on to the books that I read for this class. I read quite a few. So whether you're looking at Bach's biography, Bach's music, all the time surrounding Bach, anything to do with Bach, I recommend totally The New Bach Reader by David Mendel and Wolf. This is a fascinating look into the world of Bach, and it's definitely worth looking into if you're studying Bach in any kind of way. It's an amazing resource. I've used this last year and this year. Now a little bit more specific, if you're looking into the keyboard music of J.S. Bach, one of the books that I found the most useful this semester was this one by Schleuenberg, and it is just literally titled The Keyboard Music of J.S. Bach. This is the 2nd edition. I got a load of useful information out of this, especially with regards to the clavier bookline for his son and for the Inventions and Sinfonias as well. It's a really useful book, really good resources, really well written, and it gives you a good look into Bach's keyboard works. So if perhaps you'd be interested in me doing a kind of bigger video of more of an overview of kind of what you study in a music degree, obviously this was just this semester, then let me know, because it's something that I'll think about doing. I just don't know whether it would be worthwhile or whether enough people would be interested in it, but that's certainly something I could do. So thank you so much for spending a little bit of your day with me. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you'd like to, and I'll see you on the next upload. Bye!
I'll raise a glass to you, and you'll raise a glass to me, and when